Hey everyone, and welcome back to Easy English Podcast, the podcast where we take real English, the kind you actually need in your life, in conversations, in writing, in everyday situations, and we make it feel natural, logical, and honestly, a lot of fun. I'm Hannah.
And I'm Alex. Hello, everyone. So great to be here with you again today, as always. How are you doing?
Genuinely?
Yes, genuinely.
Okay, I am really good today. I slept well, which doesn't happen as often as I'd like, and I woke up feeling light, like ready.
Oh, I love those mornings.
They're rare, but beautiful. How about you?
Honestly, my morning was good. My coffee was strong, the weather outside was nice, and I arrived here thinking, today's going to be a good episode.
And you were right.
I usually am.
Okay, let's talk about today's topic because this one is something I genuinely get excited about.
Oh, really? You get excited about this one?
Okay, I know. I know how that sounds, but hear me out. You know when you read something in English or you hear someone speak and it just flows? Like one idea connects to the next, and everything feels smooth and intelligent and almost effortless.
Yes, like the person really knows what they're doing.
Exactly. And then you read something else or hear someone else, and it feels choppy, disconnected, like someone just dropped sentences onto a page and walked away.
Dropped sentences and walked away. I know exactly what you mean.
The difference between those two experiences is very often one thing:
Transition words.
transition words. The little connectors, the bridges between ideas, the words that make English flow like a river instead of fall like separate rocks.
That's a beautiful way to put it.
Thank you. I've been thinking about it.
And today we are going to look at transition words properly. What they are, why they matter, how to use them, and which ones to use in which situations.
Because there are different types, and using the wrong transition word in the wrong place can actually change your meaning completely.
Which we will absolutely talk about.
We will. But first, if Easy English Podcast is part of your English learning journey, please subscribe to the channel, like this episode, and share it with one person, just one, who wants to speak and write more naturally in English.
We upload a brand new episode every single day. Okay, transition words. Let's go.
So, Alex, let's start at the very beginning. What exactly is a transition word?
Okay, simple definition first.
A transition word, or transitional phrase, is a word or group of words that connects one idea to another.
Like a bridge.
Exactly like a bridge. Imagine you have two islands, okay? Island A and Island B.
I'm imagining both islands have perfect weather, just so you know.
Of course they do. Now, Island A has one idea, Island B has another idea. Without a transition word, you jump from A to B, and the reader or listener has to figure out the connection themselves.
Which is confusing and tiring.
Very tiring. But with a transition word, you build a bridge. The reader walks across smoothly. They understand not just what the ideas are, but how they connect.
So transition words don't just connect sentences, they explain the relationship between ideas.
Yes, that is exactly it. They say, this idea adds to the previous one, or this idea contrasts with the previous one, or this idea is a result of the previous one.
So they carry meaning, not just structure.
They carry so much meaning, and once you understand that, transition words stop feeling like grammar rules. They start feeling like tools.
Powerful tools.
The most powerful ones in your English toolkit.
Let's make this real, because I think the best way to feel transition words is to see what happens without them first.
Oh, yes, the before and after. I love this.
Okay, imagine someone writes this. I was tired. I went to bed early. I couldn't sleep. I lay awake for 2 hours. I got up and made tea. The tea was too hot. I burned my tongue. The morning was difficult.
It's a tragedy, a complete tragedy in 8 sentences.
It is. But do you feel how choppy it is? How disconnected?
Every sentence just stops and starts again. There's no flow, no connection. You understand what happened, but it feels like reading a list, not a story.
Now, same story with transition words.
I was tired, so I went to bed early. However, I couldn't sleep and ended up lying awake for 2 hours. Eventually, I got up and made tea. Unfortunately, the tea was too hot and I burned my tongue. As a result, the next morning was very difficult.
Same events, same story, completely different feeling.
So, however, eventually, unfortunately, as a result.
5 transition words and the whole story transformed.
That's the power we're talking about today.
And these are not advanced words. They are not difficult. They just need to be understood and then practiced.
Which is exactly what we're doing right now.
Now, transition words come in different categories because different transitions do different jobs.
And knowing which category to use, that's the real skill.
Exactly. So let's go through the main categories one by one with real examples, real situations, real conversation. Starting with the most common one, adding information.
These are the transition words you use when you want to say, and here's more, here's something extra, here's another point that supports what I just said.
The most basic one. Also,
I love learning English.
I also enjoy learning about different cultures.
Furthermore, slightly more formal, more emphasis.
The course was excellent. Furthermore, the teacher was incredibly supportive.
In addition, very common in both writing and speaking.
She speaks 3 languages. In addition, she is currently learning a 4th.
Moreover, stronger than furthermore, used when the extra point is even more significant.
The project was delivered on time. Moreover, it was under budget.
What's more, very natural in conversation.
She had amazing food. What's more, the service was absolutely perfect.
See how all of these say, here's more information that supports or adds to what I just said. They're all moving in the same direction, same team, same side.
I like that. Same team words.
Same team words. Write that down. Now, the opposite direction, contrast and surprise.
Oh, these are my favorites because contrast words are where English gets really interesting.
These are the words that say, wait, here's something different. Here's the other side. Here's what you didn't expect.
However, the most famous one.
I studied hard for the exam.
However, I didn't get the result I expected.
You expect, studied hard, got a good result. But however says, not this time. Something different happened.
Nevertheless, similar to however, but stronger, more resilient.
The weather was terrible. Nevertheless, we decided to go for a walk.
There's a little courage in nevertheless, actually.
There really is. Nevertheless says the obstacle existed and we went anyway.
On the other hand, showing 2 sides of something.
Living in the city is exciting and full of opportunities. On the other hand, it can be expensive and overwhelming.
Although, even though, contrast within one sentence.
Although I was exhausted, I finished all my work.
Even though the film had great reviews, I found it quite boring.
Despite, in spite of, very useful, very natural.
Despite the rain, the event was a huge success.
In spite of feeling nervous, she gave a brilliant presentation.
All of these contrast words, they give your writing tension, drama, realism.
Because real life is full of contrast, right? Things don't always go the way you expect.
Exactly, and transition words help you express that honestly.
Now, let's talk about cause and effect, because this is one of the most important categories.
These are the words that explain why something happened or what happened as a result.
The most common one, so.
I was hungry, so I made something to eat.
Simple, clear, very natural. So connects a cause directly to its effect.
Because, very similar, but can come at the beginning or in the middle.
She left early because she had a long drive ahead.
Because she had a long drive ahead, she left early.
Same meaning, 2 different positions. Both are correct.
As a result, more formal, often used in writing.
The company invested heavily in marketing. As a result, sales increased significantly.
Therefore, formal, logical, often used in academic writing or professional contexts.
The data was incomplete. Therefore, the study could not be finalized.
Consequently, very similar to therefore, strong and formal.
He didn't prepare for the interview. Consequently, he didn't get the job.
Due to, because of, used to introduce the cause.
Due to heavy traffic, the bus arrived late.
Because of the rain, the match was canceled.
See the difference? So and because introduce the effect or explain the cause. Due to and because of introduce the cause directly.
It's a small difference, but it matters.
It really does. And once you feel it, you'll use them correctly without even thinking.
Now, sequence and time, because often we need to explain not just what happened, but when.
These transition words organize events in time or steps in a process.
Firstly, the obvious starting point.
First, gather all your ingredients.
Then, next, moving the story forward.
Then, heat the pan over medium heat.
After that, afterwards, a little more formal than then.
After that, add the vegetables and stir gently.
Meanwhile, very useful. Use when two things happen at the same time.
Cook the pasta. Meanwhile, prepare the sauce.
Ah, I love meanwhile. It makes you feel like you're reading a story.
It really does. Meanwhile has a cinematic quality, don't you think?
Yes, exactly. Meanwhile, on the other side of the kitchen,
Okay, moving on.
eventually, finally, use for the last step or the final outcome.
Eventually, the sauce thickened and was ready to serve.
Finally, plate everything and enjoy.
These sequence words are incredibly useful for instructions, stories, explanations, anytime you need to walk someone through a process,
And they make your English sound organized, professional, easy to follow.
which is exactly what good communication looks like.
Now let's talk about giving examples, because sometimes the best way to explain something is to show it.
And these transition words introduce those examples.
For example, the most common one, used everywhere, in writing and speaking.
Many cities are becoming more sustainable. For example, Amsterdam has invested heavily in cycling infrastructure.
For instance, very similar to, for example, slightly more formal.
There are many ways to improve your vocabulary. For instance, reading widely, keeping a vocabulary notebook, and using new words in conversation.
Such as used to list examples directly within a sentence,
She enjoys outdoor activities such as hiking, cycling, and swimming.
including similar to such as.
The package includes several benefits, including free delivery and a 1-year warranty.
To illustrate, more formal, often used in academic writing.
The data shows significant growth. To illustrate, sales increased by 40% in just 6 months.
These example words are so powerful because they don't just make claims, they prove them.
And proven points are always more convincing than unproven ones.
Which is why strong writing is full of for example, for instance, and such as.
Evidence. Always evidence.
Now, emphasizing and clarifying, because sometimes you want to make sure your point really lands.
These words say, pay attention. This is important. I really mean this.
In fact, used to add emphasis or correct a misunderstanding.
People think learning a language is impossible as an adult. In fact, research shows adults can learn languages very effectively.
Indeed, formal confirmation, strong agreement.
The results were impressive. Indeed, they exceeded all expectations.
Clearly, use when you want to signal something's obvious or logical.
She had prepared thoroughly. Clearly, all that preparation paid off.
Obviously, similar but slightly more casual.
He hadn't slept properly for days. Obviously, his performance suffered.
Above all, use for the most important point.
You need patience, consistency, and practice. Above all, you need to enjoy the process.
Especially, particularly, used to single out one thing as most important.
I enjoy all kinds of music, especially jazz.
The project went well, particularly in the final stages.
These emphasis words, they give your writing direction. They tell the reader, this is the important part. Don't miss this.
And in spoken English, they give your words weight, gravity, presence,
Which makes people actually listen.
which is the whole point of communication.
Let's talk about concluding and summarizing, because every good piece of writing and every good conversation needs a strong ending.
And transition words help you land that ending smoothly, confidently, memorably.
In conclusion, the classic ending signals, I am wrapping up now, here comes the final point.
In conclusion, transition words are not just grammar tools, they are communication tools.
To sum up, used to quickly review the main points.
To sum up, we covered adding information, contrasting, cause and effect, sequence, examples, emphasis, and conclusions.
Overall, a general summary feeling.
Overall, the event was a great success, despite a few small challenges.
In short, very concise, very efficient.
In short, it was the best decision I ever made.
All in all, casual, conversational, warm.
All in all, it was a wonderful experience and I'd do it again in a heartbeat.
Ultimately, the final, deepest truth, the bottom line.
Ultimately, what matters most is not how many words you know, but whether you can communicate with confidence.
That one hits differently.
It's supposed to. Now, let's do something practical.
A real exercise, because understanding transition words is one thing. Using them, that's where the magic happens. Let's take a paragraph without any transition words and fix it together, okay?
Okay, here's the paragraph. Learning English is difficult. It takes a long time. Many people give up. Some people succeed. They practice every day. They make mistakes. They learn from their mistakes. They improve slowly. They reach their goal.
9 sentences, all short, all disconnected, like little islands with no bridges.
Let's build the bridges. Learning English is difficult, and it takes a long time. As a result, many people give up. However, some people do succeed. For instance, those who practice every day tend to make the most progress. Although they make mistakes, they use those mistakes as learning opportunities. Consequently, they improve slowly but steadily and ultimately reach their goal.
Same information, completely different experience.
As a result, however, for instance, although, consequently, ultimately.
6 transition words, and the paragraph went from choppy and flat to flowing and intelligent.
And notice we didn't add any new information. We didn't change any facts.
We just connected what was already there.
That's the power of transition words. They don't create meaning, they reveal the meaning that was already there.
That's beautiful.
I thought so too. I want to talk about something that learners often ask about.
What's that?
Are transition words just for writing, or do they work in speaking too?
Oh, absolutely in speaking too. In fact, some of the most natural sounding speakers use transition words constantly without even realizing it.
Give me an example, a real spoken one.
Okay, imagine two people describing the same experience. Person A says, "The film was long. I was tired. I enjoyed it. The ending was unexpected."
Choppy. Disconnected. Even in speech.
Person B says, "The film was quite long, so I was tired by the end. Nevertheless, I really enjoyed it, especially because the ending was completely unexpected."
Person B sounds so much more natural, more fluent, more engaging.
And person B used "so," "nevertheless," "especially because."
3 transition phrases and the whole thing transformed.
In speaking, the transitions that work best are the more casual ones.
So, but, however, although, eventually, also, what's more, on the other hand.
These all sound completely natural in conversation.
The more formal ones, consequently, furthermore, subsequently, these are better for writing or more formal speech.
Presentations, academic discussions, professional meetings.
But in everyday casual English, the simpler transition words flow most naturally.
And once you start noticing them in podcasts and conversations and TV shows, you'll hear them everywhere.
And then, slowly, they'll start appearing in your own speech too.
Naturally, without forcing them.
Because that's how language really works. You hear it, you absorb it, you use it.
Let's do one final natural conversation, using transition words the way two real people actually talk.
Okay, let's talk about something that affects almost everyone. How about, should people work from home or go to the office?
Ooh, great topic. Okay, I'll start. I personally think working from home has enormous benefits. You save time on commuting. Furthermore, you have more control over your environment, your schedule, your energy.
I see where you're coming from. However, working from home can also be incredibly isolating. You miss the energy of other people, the spontaneous conversations, the feeling of being part of something. On the other hand, offices can be distracting too, and open-plan offices especially.
That's true, and consequently, I think a lot of people actually find they focus better at home, without the noise, the interruptions, the unnecessary meetings.
The unnecessary meetings. Although, and I say this as someone who actually enjoys office life, I do think it depends enormously on the person. For instance, someone who lives alone might really need the social connection that an office provides.
Absolutely. In fact, research has shown that loneliness is one of the biggest challenges for remote workers. Nevertheless, I think ultimately what matters most is not where you work, but whether you feel productive, connected, and valued.
And did everyone catch all of those?
Furthermore, however, on the other hand, consequently, although, for instance, in fact, nevertheless, ultimately.
9 transition words in one natural 2-minute conversation about work and offices.
And it didn't feel like a grammar lesson.
It felt like a real discussion.
With two real people who actually have opinions.
Because we do. We really do. I want to say something before we finish. When you first started learning English, you learned words, individual words, one by one, and that was the foundation.
Absolutely necessary.
But at some point, words alone are not enough, because communication is not just words. It's connection, it's flow, it's one idea leading naturally and logically to the next.
And transition words are how you build that flow.
They're the difference between someone who knows English and someone who communicates in English.
Between someone who has understood and someone who has truly heard.
And you, after this episode, have a whole new set of tools. Words that connect, words that flow, words that make people think, wow, their English is really something.
Because it is. Your English is really something. Use these words.
Try them today, in a message to a friend, in a comment below, in your next piece of writing.
Even one new transition word used correctly is a step forward.
And steps forward, however small, always lead somewhere beautiful.
See what she did there?
However, always working, even in the ending. Before we go,
If this episode made your English feel more connected, more flowing, more you, please like this episode.
subscribe to Easy English Podcast. New episode every single day.
Share this with one person whose English would benefit from sounding more natural and connected.
And leave us a comment. Write 2 or 3 sentences about anything, your day, your plans, your feelings. But use at least one transition word from today.
We want to see them. We read every single comment. Everyone.
Thank you for being here. Thank you for growing. Thank you for choosing Easy English Podcast every day.
Keep connecting your ideas.
Keep flowing, keep learning, and keep growing.